Welcome to the Neurodivergent podcast. My name's Jannice Jones and I am the Neurodivergent positive psychologist. Today I'm going to be talking about boundaries and how important boundaries are for neurodivergent individuals, and how difficult it is for us to set and keep healthy boundaries. And we really need to understand how a lack of boundaries can lead into us moving further and further towards burnout. So what is a boundary? Sometimes a boundary is having to say no, or having to go back to answer something that has been, a request that is not possible. Sometimes a boundary is a physical boundary, so it might be around your own space or your own being. Other times a boundary, if you're looking at it in terms of workplaces, a boundary is, say, if one of your colleagues or your boss or somebody else in the organization asks you to do something, and either it's not within your normal remit, or you are already at or beyond capacity, but find it really, really difficult to actually say no. So why would you even want to say no? A lot of neurodivergent individuals have grown up feeling outside of, afraid of being rejected, less than, low confidence, low self-esteem. So the thought of upsetting someone or saying no and not being a people pleaser, which is the type of person who says yes to everything, risks being rejected. And when we understand the brain, that our brain is wired for two main things, which is fear and connection, our, really ancient ancestors, in order to be accepted amongst the tribe and therefore to survive, that would have been absolutely paramount for them. They couldn't have afforded to be rejected by the tribe. And unfortunately, our ancient reptilian type brain still comes from that same place and is terrified of upsetting people, being rejected, being abandoned. And it's a very, very ancient fear. It's been there pretty much all of our lives, because we are literally from birth hardwired for fear and connection. But with neurodivergent individuals who tend to suffer with burnout more than the neurotypical individual, we can, whether that be running out of energy on an individual basis or literally burning out, and I've done other articles and blogs and episodes dealing specifically with burnout for neurodivergent individuals. But, if the thing is, whether it's for the day or the week or you're literally on your last legs, whatever reason it is, we still need to get a lot better at saying no. Because for us, we need to be able to preserve our energy and to focus on the things that move the needle for either our job or our career or our business. And if we constantly say yes to people, and what I always teach my coaches, my clients, is if you're saying yes to everything, what are you saying no to? And for many of us, we're saying no to self-care. We're saying no to looking after and preserving our energy and having energy left to do the things that we need to do at home, as well as in terms of self-care for ourselves. Are we saying no to our overall well-being? Are we putting way more stress and pressure on ourselves And that can lead to having to be off because of acute stress that's gone on and built up over a long time. So, being able to say no, whether that's a direct no or I need to look at my calendar and I'll get back to you, or I'm already oversubscribed or I don't have the capacity left right now to take on anything else. I'm over capacity. I'm at capacity. We have to be able to start saying these things, because it's really hard for us to do it, but we have to do it because we have to prioritise our self-care. So saying no doesn't just put that boundary around our time and our energy and our health and our well-being, but it also reduces that overstimulation. That if you're, say, autistic and you're in that monotropic flow and you're wanting to just focus on this thing, and then something else comes in, and if you say yes to it, it might take you away from that. If you're ADHD, it might be that you're always saying yes, and then you're overcommitting to things which then really start to impact you and your health and your well-being. So boundaries and the ability to say no, we have to watch our energy. We have to watch that. Am I being overstimulated? Am I saying yes? Is there too much coming in at me? And actually, when we do start to learn how to set boundaries and how to, even if it's very gently, push back and say, I'm sorry, but that's not possible for whatever reason, even if we want to, if it's just not the right thing to do or the right time to do it, or we're not capable of doing it at that time, then we actually start to build our confidence and boost our self-esteem. And that's really, really essential for neurodivergent, especially neurodivergent women. Many of us are what we call people pleasers. I know I certainly was for many, many years. I never even considered my own needs, hardly at all, for many years. And that had vast negative effects on my well-being, on my mental health, on my ability to parent well, or when I was an employee to work well, or as an entrepreneur. It stopped me from building the business that I was really capable of building, because that that over saying yes all the time, that people pleasing, it didn't let other people see who I really was. And if I don't value me, my time, my energy, my ideas, how can anybody else value them? So it does have to start with us. It starts with that. Now, if I value my well-being, my health, my mental health, my energy, my ideas, my input, all of these things, if I value those, then I need to be able to start saying no in whatever way that is, whatever way works for you. And for some, it's a straightforward, I'm really sorry, but no, I can't do that. For others, as I say, you can say things like, let me look at my calendar and get back to you, and be very clear on the time scale that you will get back to them, and don't always go back with a yes. You go and look at your calendar, and then if it's, no, I'm at capacity, then you still have to go back with that, I'm awfully sorry, but that's not going to be possible. Or it's I'm already beyond capacity. So right now, I can't, but I'm happy to revisit it in 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever that looks like for you. The other thing that we can really suffer with is that social anxiety. And I know for me, that has been a really big part of my life. I'm not diagnosed with social anxiety. It's not that. It's the fact that the autistic me really struggles with lots of people around me, especially if there's lots of conversations going on. They're usually, if I'm networking, it's a loud space, it's a bright space, it's often a hot space, and I'm too hot, I'm getting overheated. I might not know people, and that how to speak to people, that first conversation can be really, really challenging as an autistic individual. So, that social anxiety can be the reason sometimes that we say yes when actually, when we really consider it, the answer may have been better to be no. And then misinterpreting social cues. So you might, as a neurotypical individual, be able to read other people really well. Some autistic individuals, just generally some neurodivergent individuals, find understanding social cues quite difficult to one degree or another. We're all different. And that can lead to fear of rejection and saying no, and therefore might say yes to something that somebody that wasn't afraid of misinterpreting social cues, that if they're not, worrying about that, then they're quite happily able to say, no, that's not for me, or that I'm not going to do that, or whatever it is. And I've already touched on that low self-esteem. And it really is at the core of who we are, that low self-esteem, that the ability to value our time, our energy, our ideas, our vision. For many, many years, I didn't allow myself to have a vision at all. I do now, a very clear vision, but as Dr. Gabor Mate says in his book Scattered Mind, he explores the link between childhood experiences and adult struggles. And he talks about low self-esteem can often stem from unmet needs and a sense of not being good enough. And that was certainly the case for me as a neurodivergent child in a difficult childhood. My unmet needs, that's really hard to say with all the N's and the M's, my unmet needs, where I was a lost child, I was very shut down. I just used to read a lot. I was in my bedroom a lot. I was in my own head a lot. I didn't have things like, soft toys or dolls and things like that. I was, in myself, even if I appeared outwardly social, internally, I most definitely wasn't. Internally, any social situation, school or whatever, and family were really difficult for me, because it felt to me like everybody else had a handbook on how to do life, and I just wasn't given it. I wasn't given a handbook of how to understand what I was feeling, or be able to talk about that and express that, and for it to be heard. In my family, it wasn't possible to be heard. There was too much other stuff going on. So that can often lead to low self-esteem, because if we haven't been seen and heard and valued as we were growing up in a way that you would be in a healthy family, then it's more than understandable why we then struggle with that low self-esteem and therefore difficulties in setting boundaries. So what can you do to help yourself to be able to say no? Think about saying no, not as being difficult, but as a way of protecting your well-being and your energy. It's part of self-care. You are not, in any way, shape or form, you are not being selfish. You are practicing self-care. Focus on your needs. So use I statements. I'm sorry, but I am unable to take on that extra big piece of work. I won't be able to come to that event. And you don't have to say a massive sentence. No, is a full sentence. If you're really unsure, you can always use that idea of saying, not now. I'm not able to consider that now. I can review it. I can return to it in a period of time. Be really clear. Don't be wishy-washy. Make sure they leave the conversation or the email trail or whatever it is with a very clear understanding of what you have and have not agreed to do. Don't be, oh, I might be able to, let me just think about it for, 5 minutes and I'll be back to you. Give yourself a reasonable period of time within which that you can look at your diary, you can look at your load of what it is that you've already got to do, you can look at your capacity. If there's a lot of stuff going on outside of work as well, you're going to be lower in capacity. So be really gentle and loving and compassionate towards yourself instead of, I have to do it and I must do it and I have to say yes. And, try speaking to yourself from that loving place, that compassionate place, which is, there's only so many hours in the day. There's only one of me. I have all sorts of things and people that need my attention and time, and I can only do so much. And there are other people who might have more capacity right now than I do. And sometimes it's also that thing of going, if I say yes to everything, I'm actually not allowing other people the opportunity to do things as well and to be able to say yes. And what you actually find happens as you start to say yes only occasionally and no a lot more often, people start to value your yes. And that's really important. If we're going to say yes, we want it to be valued, because a yes is valuable. If we say yes to everything, it's never valued because it's a given that we are going to say yes. So really consider, only say yes if you have the time, the energy, the ability, the bandwidth at that time to actually say yes to this thing. Really consider your time, your energy, your well-being is incredibly important. So please give this podcast, the Neurodivergent podcast, a follow, a like, give it a review. This streaming is part of my podcast. I always put blogs up on my website, which is jannicejones.com, which is Jannice with a double N. You can reach out if you're looking for neurodivergent coaching for how to increase your well-being, your confidence, your ability to look after yourself and set and keep healthy, loving boundaries. Please reach out to us and ask for the help. Honestly, it makes a really big difference. It really does. So I look forward to seeing you. This is episode 7 of the Neurodivergent podcast. I look forward to seeing you next week for episode 8. And please do give us a like, a listen, or a follow everywhere where you listen to your favorite podcasts. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.